you miss us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Anna.
Hello, and here we're interviewing Anna Vinson, the founder at CarMatch, the presenter saying goodbye to endless car searching, great online personality, friend of some people that are really cool, which I won't name drop, but really cool. And somebody I've been dying to talk to we've probably been connected for a couple of years. And thank you, Anna, for joining us. We greatly appreciate it on our new personalities interviews with the AutoHub show. Anna,
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Pleasure's all mine. We've just had a lovely chat for who knows how long and learned all sorts of stuff. Anna gets to drive some of the coolest cars. And actually, I'm going to ask you a question to start off here, because one of the things that we did a little bit of a conversation on about 2-3 weeks ago was in response to almost a viral series of posts of electric cars suffering dramatically in the cold weather in the Eastern North America cold snap of a few weeks ago. And you commented to me, it was terrible. And you commented to me that you were driving an EV, I think it was a Mercedes, I could be wrong, from, I believe, Switzerland down to the south of France. How did it go?
Actually, it was all right. It went without any problems, but I did nearly have a crash.
Sorry?
I nearly had a crash. So I've had I've actually absolutely no problems in terms of charging. It was a little bit slower than it is normally in a normal weather. But the charging speed does drop. But it's an interesting situation in Switzerland, because as you drive through the mountains, you have usually just one lane, and then you have sections where you have the passing lane. And normally, the speed is 80 kilometers an hour, and sometimes cars will drive 65, 70 because it's snowy, it's icy, etc. And so I was following two cars that were going 60, 70, and there was a passing lane, and then next minute they said, "Oh, here's a throttle. I'm gonna slam it." Wow, wonderful. And literally they're going 90 on an 80, and I'm thinking, well, I want to pass them. I'm starting to overtake them, and the next minute, towards the end of the passing lane, the second car actually pulls in the front of me. I just slammed on the brakes, and I just sort of touched his mirror a little bit, and I thought, oh my God, this is a disaster. And in that moment, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die in a Polestar 2. I mean, it's a pretty nice car, but I was hoping maybe it's going to be a little bit something, a combustion engine, a nice combustion engine.
Or at least a Rimac if it's an EV.
True, that's true. Well, following Helen's steps. But it actually went all right. I do these journeys every 2 to 3 weeks. So when it goes well, it goes well. But when it doesn't, well, it's not good.
So you're telling me you own a sat phone to call emergency road service?
Well, I haven't done that, but I do push these cars. I push these cars. The trip before, I arrived in Italy with 2% battery. I pushed these cars this hard. Actually, my record was 0. But generally speaking, 5 is my average. So, I do push these cars. I want to see how far these cars will take me. So far, so good. But, I know there will be a day that comes.
I actually read an article where Polestar has a reserve that's untouchable by the owner, and you could call their emergency. I don't know. I just read it, so don't take this as gospel. But you could phone the owner, or not phone it. So you would phone the owner's line, and they will unlock like 3% to get you to a station.
Exactly, because if you think about it, just yesterday I filmed the video, but I spoke about EVs because there's a lot of questions about EVs. And we know when you have a battery in that Polestar, I have 82 kilowatt hours. So usable is 78, 79. But what happens with the reserves? The reserves are there to protect the battery. And I'm sure you can use that. So
there's a great gentleman to connect with out of Chicago. His name's Brent Seavey. And Brent set up Tesla's pre-owned program. And he is a Teslaite. He can talk about EVs like you wouldn't believe. He's really quite the knowledgeable. That might be an interesting connection. So tell us about yourself. I mean, you've got when one looks at your profile, I mentioned to you about Katrina Gentile, who I said, when I grow up, I want to be like her. I'm sorry. When I grow up, I want to be like you. You've lived all
Oh,
over the world. You drive fantastic cars. You've got a great presence where people that you would never dream would know you. And especially me, like here's this guy, a little old kid in Canada, and here I'm following this person, and she could, I understand that you can go to Monaco and the casino goes, Anna, come on in.
well, maybe I wouldn't push it this far, but I do sometimes get recognized, and it's nice. And I'm glad that I get recognized for all the right reasons. Because I try to stay true to myself. I'm being myself. I don't have a persona. I don't put anything up that's not genuine. So that's nice. It's nice to be part of a community, even on LinkedIn. It's nice to be recognized for the work that you do. But it doesn't. You are not born with it.
No.
Mm-mm.
No. And so your business is CarMatch. Please tell, or one of your businesses, please tell us what CarMatch is.
Well, actually, I've started as a car presenter, car reviewer, car presenter, right? So I've been doing that for a couple of years, and I can't say I was bored. I wasn't bored, but me coming from a sales background, I felt it's not enough. I need something more. I need to monetize this, and I want to help people find, their perfect cars. I would often get asked, "Hey Anna, what do you think? Which car is right? Hey Anna, do you like the Stelvio, or do you like Q3?" I said, "Well, it's nice that you're asking me which car I like, but it's rather irrelevant." So I came from that sort of, I wasn't trained as a journalist, as a presenter. I come from a sales background, marketing, sales background, a bit of operations. And I had that sort of need. I'm thinking, how can I, there must be a way I can help these people and I can monetize, I can make business out of it. Some people would tell me, Anna, you should be like a car broker. But I thought, no, I don't want that. I want to scale. I want to scale it up. And so little by little, I was sort of researching cars, and I thought, is there a tool that actually helps people buy their next car? How do people how do people shop for cars? How do they find which car is the right car for them? There's so much regret when it comes to buying cars. People are buying wrong cars because they get, the wrong advice. You've got a salesman pushing you, hey, this is a perfect car for you. Is it? Do when you walk into a dealership, you know that better than me. I mean, it's a disaster. When I was shopping for my own car, the first question that lands on your lap, what car do you drive now? I mean, it's relevant, but it's not. I mean, I'm there for a reason. If I love my car, why do I stand here? It's not really. So I started to pick up on these elements of, people weren't sure, that they were ill-advised. They wanted to see what their options are. And I started to think, how can I make it, a solution, not just me asking all these questions. I thought there must be a way. And then I actually was, I'm not a very creative person, but that was a pretty creative. I thought, I'm going to create an app that's going to ask people all these questions I'm asking, the old sort of salesman qualifying questions, but these are really questions to get to know your customer. Where do you drive? Who drives with you? And all these things that are important in daily life. And I thought, I'm going to create an app, and I'm going to ask people, and I'm going to give them options, but I will not give them 50 or 100 options like some of these sort of car selectors do now. Because, when you get a selection of 50 cars, I mean, how helpful is that? You are probably more confused than you were before you actually got on that website. And so I've created this product. It took years to complete. I had to deal with software engineers, and it's a different kind of animal. Software engineers. But finally last year, we've completed. So I'm at the moment in a stage, the app is in the beta version, sort of alpha beta, and I'm raising capital. So let's see how that goes. If somebody wants to give me money and become part of something that's really exciting, because I think the product is very innovative and very unique. There's some car selectors on the market, but they ask you 2-3 questions, and if somebody asks you, well, which brand do you want? But, just because you're driving Mercedes, it doesn't mean you might not know which brand you want. I mean, how helpful is that really? Which is why the dealerships also, have that, are they really helpful? Unless you have multi-brand stores, dealerships, then probably, but otherwise. So that's how CarMatch came, and let's see if I can make it global.
That's a very interesting thing, because coming from the retail side of things, what are you driving now is a big question. But the fact is there aren't a lot of people that are out there without a bias. So when you're looking for a car, it is not a case of, well, what do you want? Like you mentioned, I know you're an Alpha fan, and so you got very few Alphas these days. You had a lot more in Europe than some really cool ones.
But, we love our Alphas.
Yeah, but is it the right thing for anybody there? But I was saying, so now you've got Alpha, which is really cool, but the Stellantis people are grabbing these, and so now you've got
because there's also this sort of this sound that's sort of bouncing up and down.
Okay, let me change my mic.
Because it's that kind of like ding, 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 something is.
How about now? Is that any better?
That's better. I think the sound is now gone because it was a sort of like ding, 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 ding.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I didn't hear that, but I will move this mic and I'll have a different mic working.
Now it's good. Yeah.
Good. I was saying that so maybe the tonal is not as good an alpha. Maybe it isn't, but especially when you have the Dodge Hornet over here, and I'm sure over in Europe there's like 6 other different brands of that body. Maybe it isn't, but everything isn't right, and it's very good. Even a multi-brand. You mentioned the experience. We were talking about when I was on holiday over there. I went into a combination Nissan, MG store, etc. in San Rafael, and they looked. Nobody talked to us. We just walked in.
Yeah.
I don't look Canadian. I don't look un-European.
No, you don't. And there should be no reason. But, that's the thing, the experience with dealerships. And, people would come to me and they would ask for my advice, which is of course, it's very flattering. And it's nice. But at the end of the day, I've realized that there's such a huge gap on the market that people are not sure which car is right for them. There's just so much information. And as I was doing the car reviews, which I love and I'm still doing, but, moving forward, I'll change the nature of my car reviews a little bit. I realized I'm just adding to the problem because I'm reviewing a car. Okay, but who is the car for really? You have got this overload of information. It's a chaos. You've got car reviews, ratings, rankings, tests, and who is the best, the top 5 SUVs. Okay, the top 5, but for whom? Because everybody is different. You might have if I was working in a dealership and a customer walks in, I would ask a question. Okay, where do you drive? Who's going to come along with you on a regular basis? Is it going to be a large dog? Is it your older mother? A grandmother, etc., etc. So there are a lot of factors which nobody cares about because if this is like in a dealership, I remember when I was working for Otis, I think one of the companies, and they said they were doing sales training, and they said, okay, today, pack your notebooks. We're gonna send you to the field. Go to the field? Yeah, we're gonna do a little exercise. You're gonna go to car dealerships because you're gonna see just how bad it is. And we thought, wow. And we were paired up, pretending to be a married couple, and it was amazing how bad it was. I got sent to Honda with my colleague, and we're pretending we're a couple, and we walk in, and yeah, of course, the salesman completely ignores me, and it was sad but funny but sad, and he was telling me, well, this car has got the latest, infotainment system. I'm thinking, I don't care. I would never care. Why don't you ask me what I need? You want to talk about what you want and what you want to sell and what you think is right, but you don't know me. Nobody cared to really ask questions, and I realized that questions are very powerful in sales because if you ask enough questions, you will identify which product you can recommend. And it shows that empathy. It shows that you actually care about the customer. It's actually quite simple, yet somehow it's being missed all over the world. And no matter with whom I'm talking to, whether it's from Canada, USA, Switzerland, Poland, France, Germany, whatever, it's always the dealers are me. It's me. And oh, it's you. All right, okay. Oh, all right, fine.
It's something. It's so true, and it's so shameful. The experience is so horrible everywhere. And we talked about Peter Smith, and last year at the National Auto Dealers Association convention in Dallas, Peter got in a day early, and there's a very famous dealer group down in Dallas, and the owner wrote a book like 25 years ago called "You Will Be Satisfied," and he went into his Lexus store, and it was like, he said, walking into a 5-star hotel. He walked in, he was greeted, and he said, hello, good afternoon, welcome to our. But he said, something. Listen, I'm not buying a car. I'm here from Canada for the convention, and I just want to walk around. They said, that's fine. What can I show you? He got a white glove treatment the whole time, and they are famous for it. And there's no reason that people shouldn't get treatment properly, but the word's pervasive everywhere. You go into Europe. I've been in Europe. I have been in, obviously, Canada and the States, Mexico. It's all, they all do this. Somebody walks in and they go,
Yep, exactly. It's shocking. It's a universal problem. Buying a car feels like pulling teeth. It's just an awful experience. Sometimes you will get lucky, but more often than not, you will have a terrible experience. And people, especially women, they don't want to go into dealership. I have a lot of female friends. They say, Anna, can you come along with me? Can you? I don't really want to go by myself. You know how these dealers are. You know how they are. So yeah, they'll try to shove a product onto me, and I'm not going to like it. It's not going to be right, but I'll be kind of forced to buy it because I need a car. So it's all over the world. It's a tragic experience. And I thought, okay, there's an opportunity. If I can educate the buyers, if I can help them really feel more confident, and I can monetize on it, it's really a win-win situation. I drive hundreds of cars, and I've done all these reviews. I've driven a lot more cars than I've done reviews on, the sort of video reviews. And I thought, how can I use this knowledge? And I thought that idea was brilliant. Again, I'm not full of ideas, but that one idea was just brilliant.
Well, it's funny because a lot of reviewers spend their time on gobbledygook.
Yep.
To translate into Polish, gobbledygook.
Yeah.
And they talk about, and salespeople, they talk about the dual ventricle adjustment valves, and on EVs. Yeah, even anybody but the most geeky person goes, huh? They don't know what it is. But you mentioned something. People think in sales and car sales, and we're all sharks. They think they're going to do something. Really, the word is dopes. Because I'm sure in Europe there's high turnover in dealerships. Even though everybody here thinks selling cars in Europe is wonderful because there's no pressure, because there isn't inventory sitting on the ground and they just have to pick what's coming. It's the same, and it's a shame.
It's the same, and it's a shame. It's yeah. If you look at the dealership model, if you think it's not that hard, it can't be that hard to be selling cars, but it is. They'll make it hard.
Yeah, and even now I hear in Europe, a lot of Europe, Mercedes is an agency model.
That's
instead of a franchise. Probably even worse.
We are, it's interesting. It's going to be really interesting what's going to happen with car dealerships. In Europe, there's a lot of sort of large distribution model. So we've got large distributors, the likes of Amag, Emil Frey, one of the largest in Europe. It's interesting how that's all going to sort of unwrap. I'm curious. It's a huge opportunity, but I think it's, people want to buy cars now more and more online, I think. Or at least they want to they don't mind. I mean, they want to sort of touchy feely the physical element. That's important. But I think in terms of getting ready to buy a car, they want to do most of it online because they've had such a bad experience.
Well, we always say that they know more about the car than we do. And when they come in and and a good salesperson, and obviously you know this, you sold boats, like, oh my God, boats, like ships. Woo-hoo. But a good salesperson, really, I've always said, the person asking the questions is the salesperson. The person answering the questions is the customer. And too often they just keep thinking that their job is to tell people stuff.
And I think, going back to your statement about journalists, most of the journalists, it's actually quite unusual that you have a sales background and you go into journalism. So your brain thinks slightly differently. You always think, okay, I'm guilty of it myself, though, sometimes with reviews. I sometimes get carried away thinking, me, that's important. It might not be important, but I don't have a producer. So hopefully with CarMatch, I can have a producer that actually can sharpen things up a little bit. But, that sales background, you always think, okay, what does the customer need? What's important to you? Not to me. I identify things that I might think will be important. But, but it's really not me. I sort of, probably if I focus on myself on Instagram, I could have like a huge following. But I always like to sort of say, okay, no, the star is the car. It's really about the car. What's the car like? What is this car potentially going to be the perfect car for you?
I have just come up with a slogan for CarMatch.
Go on.
The star is the car.
The star is the car.
I'm not trying to make fun of you, but that's perfect.
I'm gonna use it. The star is the car.
But it's funny, like you said, people ask you, they say, what car should I get? Well, the fact is what's good for you isn't good for me.
Exactly right. Because just because I don't know, I prefer Porsche Panamera to Macan or Cayenne, it doesn't mean this is going to be the right choice for you. It's really that simple. It's about you, about your needs, your requirements, but also your wants and your preferences. I mean, as females prefer SUVs. Period. That's just how it is. And trying to, a lot of times a dealer would, a salesperson would force a female to buy. Okay, no, I think you'll be better in a saloon because of this and that. No, because you want to sell that car. She doesn't need it, but you want to sell it. And it's a stupid approach because it builds absolutely no longevity. Once you have the customer, if you take care of the customer, I mean, they will come back to you most likely. I mean, it's no rocket science.
And this is the thing, even as a salesperson, if you try to sell somebody something that you want to sell, if you do sell it, you're going to end up with trouble later.
Yep, absolutely.
They're going to come out of the ether, and you may represent Ford or Renault or Mercedes, BMW, and frankly, I prefer driving BMW over Mercedes, but some people prefer the other one. But it's very true, and because that's for me. But there are people that wouldn't touch them. It's strong over there even here as it is the Ford versus Chevy in North America.
Yeah.
How many people in your travels did you meet that say, I wouldn't drive a Ford because a Ford's found on road day, And it's very true.
All these Mercedes cars are shit. The latest Mercedes are shit. The latest Volvo is shit because it's built by the Chinese. Well, it's not built by the Chinese.
It's just owned by the Chinese. And of course...
And I always say, do you know who owns Mercedes? Yeah.
Well, exactly. I actually got into this with somebody. My favorite car right now is a Lucid. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to drive Lucid.
No, I have not, because it's just slowly but surely it's coming into Europe now.
OMG. We actually don't do reviews. We did a review of a Lucid. And I'm telling you something. In my opinion, an out Bentley's a Bentley and an out Ferrari's a Ferrari. Obviously, EVs are fast. This thing, the thing I don't like about a lot of EVs is they rely on the screen.
Yeah,
touching for my seats and this. When I got in, I put my hand down to move the seat, and there was a button. and
Oh,
we had
yeah,
dealt with a
I
rep.
class.
Yeah, and you can turn the radio off with a knob, or you can go onto the screen. And
Mhm.
they really did. You can actually flip the screen out of the way if you're a purist, and
Oh,
you can adjust it for almost no regenerative up to auto this and that. And if you ever get the chance,
they have their office in Frankfurt, if I'm not mistaken, for
they love
Europe.
to share. Their motto here was, "Come in, drive the car. We don't care if you want to buy it or not."
Okay.
We have
My,
we have one here in Vancouver. It's right downtown in the business district. It's in a mall, but it's outside. You walk by the mall, and they just say, "Come drive the car, no obligations," and it's really special. But I had somebody come after me because, of course, they're heavily invested by a Saudi investment fund, very heavily, and cars, EVs, ICE, gasoline. It's becoming political. I get very upset at the politicizing.
sad, especially EVs. It's just people are going nuts, especially in the UK. In Europe, I suppose in England they're just going crazy. I mean, it's EVs, nothing else, and then you have the against EVs. It's like EVs are like COVID vaccines all over again. There is whoever is in between tries to put some common sense and logic. No, you're against TVs. No, you are against petrol car. I mean, it's crazy. And I've been sort of asked a few times, Anna, you don't really like EVs. I said, no. I don't mind EVs. I think they serve a purpose, but they are not a replacement. They are an addition.
Yeah.
And I've driven over 60 EVs the last couple of years. I've driven with EVs across Europe, and I think I've got a pretty good experience with EVs. And when it's good, it's fantastic. When it's bad, oh boy.
Have you driven a Fisker, the old Fiskers?
No, I have not actually.
They're really not, I guess, an EV, but boy, oh boy, when they're good, they're amazing. But
Really?
they're not very often good because they have very weird. There's only like 5 people in the world that can fix them right, but that's another story altogether.
All these brands like Fisker, they're just starting to sort of come into Europe.
There's the new Fisker. That's because the old Fisker bled money out of a whole bunch of investors, and now it's a different company.
Yeah, I heard about
Yeah, and it got bought out by a Chinese company, and then became Karma. So there is now Karma Automotive, and they started with a Pontiac engine, and now they got a BMW because the engine's a generator for the car, and it's a plug-in hybrid.
Okay.
So it's very it's very interesting. So what is it about you that makes you stand out? Because again, here's me way over here on the other side of the world, and I have to say, I said to Anna earlier, I sent her a message. I says, "Well, I'm located in Vancouver, Canada," until I looked up her profile and discovered she went to university, like just in Pullman, Washington.
Yeah, Washington State University. I did my bachelor's degree. I started in Washington because I was living in Seattle briefly. But then I moved on to the East Coast.
Hey, if you miss us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.
To Boston.
I actually was living in Washington, in Virginia, just outside of Washington. So I've started my bachelor's degree at Washington State University. Then I moved. It always rained in Seattle. I mean, it always rained, just like in Vancouver, probably. And then I moved to the East Coast, and then I finished that sort of distance. It was not called hybrid learning; it was called distance learning. So I finished my degree, and then I moved to New Zealand, and then I tried to work and study. But New Zealand at that time wasn't really. It wasn't very common for a person to just study and work. I said, well, I don't have any money. I can't just study. I mean, I come from a very middle income family in Poland. I can't do both. I mean, I have to do both. So I sort of researched my options, and then I sort of came across Boston University, and they did the distance learning. So I was working at the shipyard, and I was flying back and forth to Boston to take my exams, and I finished the master degree there. And it was actually one of the best experiences I've ever had. I remember, I've done a little bit of studies in New Zealand at the Auckland University, and the level really of schooling the university schooling, it was just shocking how high it was in the States. When I joined the graduate program, I thought, oh, am I going to do it? Oh my God, maybe they were right. I can't study and work, but bit by bit, and yeah.
Good. So how did you just become this
This persona.
this personality?
To be honest with you, I think, I've left home when I was 18 years old. So I'm 40 now. So 22 years I've been traveling, working in 9 countries. I've counted 9 countries, working, living in different countries. It builds a character and builds resistance. And I think when you get to this sort of stage, when you are confident, you can be yourself. You don't have to, put up a persona, a media persona. You don't have to be anybody else. You can be yourself, and that's good enough. Usually, that's good enough. And I think when you generally, I genuinely love cars. I mean, I get so excited about cars. Like just recently, I had the Mercedes CLE, gorgeous car. I mean, I look at it, I get excited, I take pictures. I'm like, oh my God, look at this car! It's amazing. I'm driving it. I'm like a child in the car. I'm thinking, wow, I feel so amazing. I feel like $1 million. Go on. Oh yeah, that I've got such a soft spot for Mercedes coupes. It's just so. I think if you're genuine, and if you haven't lost that sort of mojo, that excitement, that enthusiasm, people feel it. People feel it, and if you become a bore, they will stop listening. If you fake it, if you know I know there will be some journalists, they don't really care about cars. Some of my colleagues, they say, I don't really like cars. So why are you doing this? Why? Oh, just that's part of life. I think as long as you love that, it's maybe sound a bit cliche, but if you love cars, and I have that element, that sales sort of background, that element that I want people to enjoy the videos, and I want people to, to be wanting me to help them. I think that's the element. That's I mean, there's always a stigma about salesmen, but there shouldn't be, because if you're truly passionate about what you do, you will succeed. I was, for goodness sake, I was selling. I was selling yachts. I was selling service contracts for Otis elevators. I mean, how excited does it get? It doesn't really get that excited. I mean, you don't think, wow, look at that lift. I mean,
Well, that business is full of ups and downs, I hear, huh?
and when you work in the sort of in the service department, the only time you have contact with your customers is when they're angry. They said the lift has crapped itself, and you get your shitty technicians, because it's always Otis. It's always so bad. I mean, it's always so they are angry. But and it's interesting because it builds sort of that. You build resilience. You build you think, okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's slow down. And I think when you're selling it, it was amazing, because I was very happy actually at Otis, because I had that sort of satisfaction that, you know what, here's the angry customer, and then there's a customer that's saying, Anna, thank you for fixing it all and making my experience so smooth. So when you have that, you have that genuine satisfaction, of helping people. Of course, this is not a charity, that's hence CarMatch. I'd love to help people, and then I'm thinking, well, there must be a way to monetize it. How could I scale it up and monetize it? And that's why, CarMatch came in. So I think the person, but coming from a very simple, my parents is a very simple family living in Poland. I've had a normal childhood, no traumas, no dramas, just a normal upbringing. But they said, if you want to travel the world, well, you're gonna have to work. I mean, we can't, we'll pay for your studies here in Poland, but if you want to study in the States or whatever, you're gonna have to, find the money. And I think that also sort of builds the resilience, and it builds that, I suppose, a bit of that persona. But I think mostly it builds confidence. That when you got to believe in yourself. If you don't,
one thing I've always said about the car business is it crosses all boundaries. I have met people that are just barely getting by and big fancy people. And years ago, I was with a Chrysler Jeep, and Jeep
Mhm.
here used to have Jeep Jamborees, which was, it was an organized thing through the factory by the company. They had a division, and people would go out into the wild, to a ski resort or something, and they'd go in different four-wheeling groups. And you would see somebody who was a CEO standing in hip waders cheering on some kid with a 40-year-old Jeep that he put together in his backyard to go through the mud. So it's definitely a great thing to connect things. The app is fascinating. And this CarMatch, basically to put it simply is somebody goes on there, say, I want an SUV, I need rear seat legroom. I mean, it's
Exactly.
amazing how so
Yeah.
many a Mercedes GLS class
Mhm.
SUV is massive and it has no back seat legroom.
Yep.
But you put all this stuff in, it sounds
And
like, and then somebody
discussing it.
say,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's really that, it's all these sort of you think basic questions, but yeah, I would ask, because a lot of cars, for example, I've experienced, my brother drives a Lexus, and he found that our grandparents, when he was taking them, whether it's to doctors or cemetery or whatever, they had troubles getting into the IS because it was sitting low, and thought, okay, an SUV usually might be a little bit too high, but a crossover, it could be a perfect choice. So all these sort of nuances, those, devil's in the details, but those details, I mean, car is really the second largest purchase you make after your home. And, a lot
Unless
has,
it's because you have a yacht.
I was just going to say, you read my mind, Jeff. I mean, of course, unless you've got a yacht. Yeah, you've got a big boat, exactly. So it's and of course, what I want, the future of CarMatch, I want to sell cars, but it's gonna be a bumpy road depending on the dealership models, etc., etc. But I want to have all-in-one car management. So essentially, you you start your journey. Which car is the right car for me? Which car do I want? I'm not sure. You smart match, because I call it smart matching. Smart match the car, then you buy it. You can buy insurance with it, financing. Then we take care of the servicing, meaning you have everything in one app. So Canada, Europe, you've got, okay, when do I change my tires? Because at the moment, owning a car, it's actually quite a complex experience if you don't have the time or you don't know much about it. You think, oh shit, I have to change my tires. Oh yeah, servicing. Oh yeah, oil change. Oh no, the air conditioning filter I have to change. Oh my god, oh my god. And if you've got nobody to helping you really, who's knowledgeable and doesn't have an agenda, which is a big one, you are lost. So I'd like to have that, whether it's the car payments, insurance, you've got your car payments, and then you've got change of tires, you've got servicing, all in one app, until until you reach the moment, what, I'm ready to sell my car now, and I'm ready for something new. So then you go through the questions. Okay, how was your experience? Was the smart matching really smart, or could we, or your needs have changed? So that's sort of the all-in-one app. Because I think that's really missing. There's no such thing at the moment. You have all these different apps, and I have my personal car, and I'm thinking, okay, I have to just all mark it in my calendar manually when I have to renew my insurance, when my car is going for service. It's, I would say, why make it so complex? You can make it much easier.
Well, it's funny, you mentioned the term with an agenda. So, your dealer, and, your people, your service advisors in a dealership are supposed to be an advisor. And the problem is they're bonused on, the big joke that I made about EVs is in
Mhm.
the gasoline world, and you come into service, they like to sell flushes. They want to sell an engine flush. And an engine flush is good if it's done at the right time. But they get a bonus on the engine flush because the supplier has put a bonus in the dealership. So at 25,000 kilometers, they want to do an engine flush, which is too soon. But they sell it anyway. So how do you trust them? So my joke is as we move to EVs, what are they going to do? Sell brush cleaning kits?
That's going to be interesting. And I think some dealerships still do try. They try very hard to sell stuff that's complete, that they don't know what they can't sell much. And
Yeah.
I think moving on to EVs, that would also change the dealership model, because some dealers will say, "Oh, I've had enough of this. I mean, give me a combustion engine car so I can make some money."
Yeah.
It will be difficult, but so that's the whole idea of having, a little bit more, I suppose, sounds very cliche, but holistic way of owning a car. So there's not so much hassle and pain and frustration and wasted time, really, because if you think about it, I mean, I talk to friends, colleagues, and the search, the car search is just, I mean,
Yeah,
the
we,
search
you know,
and the purchasing, and then the after sales. It's you know,
and
it's a
we, meaning me, and we in the retail car industry have built it that way because we're so worried about loss. And there's a group that isn't worried about loss. I hate to say it. There's the up until the last 6-8 months for 2 to 3 years, nobody's been afraid of loss because I got a car. You want to buy a car? You don't want to buy a car? Bye bye. Next.
Yeah.
But now they're now learning to be afraid of loss. We're going to run out of time. I just wanted to ask you just really one final question, which is, what do you, in your view of this business, recommend for the industry to not just survive but to flourish, as because we're going through a terrible change. And the reason I say it's a terrible change is because we have this online purchase model in the U.S. Soon to come in Canada. Amazon is going to be handling a lot of Hyundai sales, and people think you're going to be able to order your Hyundai online, have it delivered the next day, and if you don't like it, send it back the next day, free. That ain't going to happen.
No, it doesn't work like that.
That's
I
right.
think the biggest problem really is the service. The dealers, that was a wonderful model a number of years ago. Yeah, you could make. I mean, you saw the dealers, what cars they drive. They had it good. The margins were really good, healthy. Yeah, healthy, sumptuous. But the world has changed. We've got more dealers. Margins have shrunk, but the dealers, they still want to make as much money as they did when they started, because they said, "Well, I mean, all that hassle of building the dealership. I mean, I need to make shitload of money. Excuse my language. I mean, that's me. I'm gonna trim something. I'm gonna skin a cat a different way. I mean, it's literally that. So you've got margins are smaller, so then they employ people, and the people. It's a bit of a vicious circle. The salespeople, get the commissions are getting smaller and smaller because the owner, the daily principal, wants more, and it becomes so dysfunctional. I think it does come. You get terrible service. I mean, I see sometimes jobs advertised at dealerships. I mean, they don't really pay well, and I can understand the dealers because sometimes it's but you gotta pay. You gotta reward people well. Otherwise, you've got no business. And I think that is a not it's a difficult one, because you reward people, then they take advantage of it, and it's hard to find the people. I think that the people is the biggest problem. It's going to be the biggest problem, and because customers have such a bad experience with dealerships, they will be wanting to shop online. But there's a lot of difficulties. But I think the biggest one is really the service. It's the agenda. I think having multi-brand dealerships would actually be the most unbiased move and approach, but that's not going to happen because they don't see it like that.
Well, the manufacturer doesn't want it, although you see that more. You used to see it more in the States. In Canada, you don't see we've got dealer groups. Everybody's got dealer groups. Penske's now stores in Europe. But the group, it's so funny because you will have a group will own a Mercedes store, a BMW store, an Audi store, well, they don't own Alpha stores. There's not that many around here, but a Lexus store, and I don't put Lexus and Acura in the same boat, for just because Acura is kind of built very much Honda-like cars. but you've got all these luxury brands and a whole bunch of tier B brands.
Mhm.
There's no loyalty. It's all about selling.
It's
There's
all
no,
about the
you know,
selling. It's not really you have people, yeah, they have an agenda. They're not, they're biased, and it's a poison. It's a poison because this is what I wanted to remove. I don't want this with CarMatch.
yeah.
I don't want to partner with manufacturers because the moment I do, I am compromised.
Yeah.
No, and this is having. I suppose this is a luxury now. Time will tell if it's a luxury or not. Can I survive or not? But that's a luxury, to be able to give the customer the choices and the ultimate. That's the best solution for you. This or this or this. Not, here is the car for you because I like it and I said it and I'm going to make the highest commission on it.
Hey, if you miss us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.
And of course, it's also money, right? You get your, I can't remember what it was. There's a car that's just been introduced, and maybe it's a Ferrari. I'm not sure. Well, Ferrari we know does it, but they sign an agreement that they cannot dispose of the car in the first year, except back to the dealer, the manufacturer. I can't remember who it is. I know Ferraris kind of get their nose out of joint when somebody does that.
I think you might be right. I think it is a Ferrari. I think
Well, it's definitely Ferrari because Justin Bieber is banned from buying new Ferraris because
I'm Paris for something as well. That they're banning and then it's crazy. But I think it's really, it comes down to the biggest is it's the agenda, it's the service that's gonna be the biggest problem for dealers, and people will be running.
Even Tesla's starting to learn about service. They're opening up service centers all over the place, and they're big ones. Here they're building a 40,000 square foot service center.
Oh, really?
And of course, you're not supposed to have to service them. So don't get Peter started on Teslas, by the way, Peter Smith. You don't have enough time in the day for him to get upset about it.
He started a little bit, but yeah, the conversation went on.
Oh my gosh, he's really, he's not anti, but
but it's interesting. You see, it's the same as somebody who people accuse Peter of, oh, you hate EVs, you just hate it, you want to poison the planet, and that's not true. The same, sometimes people don't really say that, but they say, oh, you don't really like EVs, and you have an agenda. No, actually, I've lived with so many EVs, and I know what they're good for and what they're not good for. And the EV fanatics, they will refuse to admit it. They just some start to, because I said, guys, this is not a strong selling point, because it's like the Jehovah's Witness, they knock on your door and then you think, oh no, go away, because that's it. This is this is your way and there's no other way. And that will be, I think it applies to whether it's an EV industry or the car dealership model. It's the agenda. It's the, I suppose, lack of the wider perspective.
Well, that's going to be the coin word here. There's two phrases: agenda, which I pull out of this visit, agenda, and the car is the star.
The car is the star.
I love that. Anna, thank you so much. I have been trying to meet you for so long. I wanted to get you on our show. And of course, because you're only like 9 hours ahead of me, it's a little tough. And it's been.
We made it work. Thank you so much for having me. I could talk and talk for hours.
Oh, no.
I'm a chatty. Yeah. When I get started, it's.
Well, hey, you can't get me to be quiet, but that's a whole other thing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and we will. I look forward to Sunday meeting you in person.
Likewise, I hope so. Not too far in the future.
No, I hope not. I would love to get back over to your neck of the woods again sometime soon, because it's funny. There's so much to see there, and you could literally miss something by being 2 miles away from it.
That's true. Oh, me in Canada. Let's see.
You never know. But it's funny. People from outside of Canada don't realize that. They say, I'm going to be in Toronto. Is there a chance we can meet for lunch? Well, Toronto's a 5-hour flight, and and because we do live in the second largest country in the world, the largest one sucks. But so thank you so much. It has been a joy. I wish you continued success. I look forward to seeing CarMatch over here, and having you come out here to promote it even.
I will do. It will happen.
Thank you so much. We're going to end this. Goodbye. Thank you. Stay on just a moment, by the way, to chat. Ian, you can end this before I said that. Anyway, thank you so much. I had so much fun. It went on for way longer than I thought.
Am I chatting too much? Because I was like, I get excited. I love these things. So it's.
You know what? This is, it's like, because we won't include this. Do not include this in. But when you talk about Clarkson just does this. He said he doesn't do this thing. He doesn't follow scripts or anything because he just loves doing this crap.
He loves doing, and actually, I've asked Jeremy because I was doing a TV show called Love Cars. It's actually just got bought by Amazon Prime, so that will be in Canada and America and United States. So you will have that, I think, in March or April. I'll start posting as soon as they let me. But that car show, it was so heavily scripted. When they've met me, it was, oh my God, it was a funny story. It was my first TV debut, big screen. I arrived in Wales. I was driving the Hyundai Kona N, and I said that I don't need a script. You just give me like a bullet points, and I will work with my words. And oh yeah, okay. And then I arrived on the scene, and they said, "Oh, this is your script." I said, "Shit, this is like sentences." I'm like, how am I supposed to drive a sort of a performance car in the mountains, floor it, and I'm going to remember all these. I said these sentences. That's not me, really. And anyway, I'm trying to remember it, and next minute I know I floored the car so hard, and I hear bang, bang. I'm thinking, oh shit. Yep, both tires.
Hey, if you missed us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.
Oh.
And not just one. And it's funny because the camera was rolling because I was in the car by myself then, and I leave the car and I'm like, oh yep, not just one but two. Anyway, I slowly go back to the meeting point. I'm thinking, you know what? I can still do it when I go slowly. So I got to the meeting point and the guy says, oh shit. I said, yep. I said, why did you give me all that big script? Tiffany Dell, that racing driver.
Oh yeah, I saw him on your thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did the piece, and I remember I told him the story. He said, Anna, it's bullshit. What they did, you don't need a script. You need you are okay as you are. You need a structure, fine, but you don't need a script. And he said, by the way, the two tires, that's for good luck. He said, I was doing a commercial for BMW. I think it was with the Z8. He said, that was the only one in America, in the country, in the US. And he said, I busted two tires. He said, they were furious. And then they said, oh my God, we can't, it's finished. He said, it's for good luck. Trust me, Anna. Trust me. And maybe he was right, with the tires. And I actually, the producer at Love Cars, he's a guy that loves himself. He said, Anna, but what do you think, Jeremy Clarkson and the rest? They everything is heavily scripted. They have like 5 producers. Everything is scripted. So of course, when I met Jeremy, I said, Jeremy, by the way, is your show scripted? He said, Anna, no. Who told you that? And I said, well, the producer. He said, oh, forget it. People who said this to you, they can't do it themselves without a script. They are jealous. Don't worry. You don't need a script. A script is for somebody who doesn't understand the subject, maybe doesn't understand the car very well, hasn't driven, that happens as well, that you got to fake it like this, or has no personality. He said, I don't think you are any of this. So forget it. Move on. He's a wanker. He was wrong. You were right. So it's interesting to hear that. And Jeremy said, we have a structure, but we don't have a script. He said, of course we have a structure. So we know we arrive in Zimbabwe, we're going to test those 2 cars or 3 cars. We're going to, put it on the boat. So you need the structure. You need a sort of kind of a conversation flow. Sure. But otherwise it's a free flow, Well, my father used to breed Alsatians, German Shepherds.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So when we were kids, so there were always dogs around. And now he's got 1 dog, but there were always like 2-3 dogs. And
you got to be a special person for that dog.
That's true. It's amazing actually. Actually, speaking of Jeremy and dogs, he's got 2 Labradors, and he said to me, Anna, you are the only person other than me, and I think he's got a there's somebody that's been living on a farm for many years. You're the only person that those dogs, they just fall apart when you arrive. They just like want to be massaged and touched. He said, what the hell? Last time I arrived at his house with the Giulia Quadrifoglio, it's a loud car. And they just run in, and it's funny because they remember me so well. It's amazing. And I said, Jeremy, but I'm a cat person. James said, Anna, cats are useless. I said, no, they're not. No. And he's got a cat. Lisa has got a cat, Lily. The cat is about 14 years old, and James is a useless cat. And I said, that's not true. You're lying. This cat sleeps on your chest at night. So he's like the tough guy. No, cats are useless. And then he tells people, yeah, Anna has a cat. I said, Jeremy. No, Anna has a dog. I said, Jeremy, here is my cat. He's my black cat. It's a cat. Oh, don't be showing me all these pictures again. I said, no. Look at it. It's a cat. It's not a goddamn dog. Oh, it looks a bit like a dog. I said, oh God. So it's funny with these dogs, and I said, I don't understand why these dogs come up to me. I am a cat person. Why do they come up to me? They just want to be around me all the time.
Dogs they're the great judges of people.
They're not, because, also when I grew up with dogs, I suppose with German Shepherds, you learn not to be afraid of dogs. Mm-hmm. My dad has a dog, and now the dog is young, about 1 year old. When he got him, he was very, very playful, but now the dog is like so aggressive. Except for my father, he will kill. He will, like, if he sees a human, he will kill like he's mental. And it's funny because, I've met him as a sort of a puppy. And, I was visiting my dad a few months ago, and, it was dark. His wife said, my parents divorced. He was, oh yeah, Dad is in the workshop. Just be careful. Bacchus, the dog is there. It was dark. It was raining, and I just walked in. I opened the gate. I'm thinking, oh shit, I forgot the dog might not recognize me. Because she said, just be careful with the dog. I thought, I didn't even think about it. And the dog, it's funny. He was just like, I'm like, oh hi. It was, it's quite nice to have that, that the dogs, even though I'm a cat person.
Well, they don't know that. Anyway,
I still love I still love dogs. I really like dogs. Here sometimes, actually, yesterday I was just sitting there, and in the garden there's a neighbor's dog that comes in. I occasionally get a dog that knocks on my door, literally here. Like, I'm sitting here by myself, and then I see, oh, there's a huge dog. There's a huge husky coming. Oh, it's a neighbor's dog.
Hey, Anna, come visit me. I always talk for my dogs. Sammy's voice is like, Daddy, I want your attention. And then Bo, my daughter does Bo, and I swear to God, she will phone us if she's babysitting them, and she will talk like, hey, Dad, how you doing? What's happening? Listen, you guys can stay away because I'm having a good time here right now, so just stay away. And it's like we're talking to him, or she'll phone, he'll go, hi, Daddy, listen, how are you? What's doing? And then then he says, oh, my daughter's name is Taya.
Hey, if you miss us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.
And then he'll go, I'll say, sorry?
How old is your daughter?
27.
Okay, 27.
Not bad considering I identify as 12, huh? But she'll say, I'll say, can I speak to Tay? And he goes, okay, just a minute. And then you hear, Taya, Daddy's on the phone. Anyways, I should let you go. I have enjoyed this immensely. I will send you off the edited copy. Now, Ian is not a professional editor, so when you get time, please watch it, because I know he will, a couple others, and he's missed a couple of things, and I want it to go out. It will not be like a professional job, but we want it to represent you well. And if we miss anything or anything, let me know. We'll edit that out.
No, don't worry. I'm sure it'll be fine. I think also, my viewers would be really sort of surprised in a very good way to see something that's different, that's a little bit uncut, because they always ask me about Anna, always include the behind the scenes or some funny shit that you get up to, and sometimes I joke, I said, there isn't none. I'm perfect. It's not true.
Well, it's funny. One thing that we're proud of what we do is even on our show, etc. Don't know if you had a chance to watch our
I
recording.
did actually watch quite a few episodes. Yeah.
Thank you. And we just try to make it about the guests, less about us. A lot of people that do this sort of stuff in our realm of the thing, it's like we got a couple of guys, Car Guy Coffee podcast. They're good guys, but they're like, you know, forgive, focus, and fly, whoopie doo, and they're great.
I know it's
They're
not
great.
it's not and for us, look, it's been such a natural chat. I mean, it's, you know, I think people love that when the chat just flows, when you think, oh shit, we gotta like close it soon, but it's just flowing. And it's, you know, I love to be honest with you, I would love to have other people with CarMatch. You know, hopefully if I secure the capital, I would love to talk to different people, take them for a ride, because car is the star, remember.
Car is the star. Now, by the way, when this becomes huge, I want royalties for that. Okay, you got to understand that. Huge.
You got it, Jeff. But you got it.
It's like those cars. Jerry Seinfeld does celebrities in cars getting coffee. People have done that, but it is a big thing to do that. You know, as people drive it, just anybody. They're out for a test drive. I think a salesperson at a dealership should do that.
Yeah.
Then they got to worry about getting permission.
Yeah, it's the interaction, that I would love to have on my channel, because, in the end, a lot of car reviewers or car presenters, they have a massive problem with insecurity and confidence. And they do these videos to gain confidence. I think it's the worst place to look for confidence, on the internet. But anyway, and they do this, and they just, they feel like if they bring somebody else, the crown is going to fall off. I would love to bring, people, but it always, it's always a question of also money, in terms of, when you're filming cars, the travel, but when I secure the investment capital, I've already put so much into marketing, because I said, I'm going to pack my bags and off I go. I want to do a world tour.
Well, could you imagine that? You build this brand, and then you go do this tour, and you take some wacky European car through Route 66 through the States.
Exactly that. And some funny, some difficult stuff. Like a friend of mine, he's going to be like the head of creative, a Kiwi guy. He said, Anna, I want to put you in an EV. Even though I love old G classes, I want to put you in an EV through Australia, because you will do some funny shit. I mean, you will be taken out of your comfort zone. And I want to see that, because you will be, he said, you will.
Anna Outback. That's what we'll call it, Anna Outback. By the way, did you see that video of those GEVs in Vegas? They did a launch, so the G-Wagon EV, they now have an EV.
Yeah, I did, the spinning.
They were doing, and Rivian calls it a tank turn, where they were doing that right on the strip in Vegas.
That is cool. Yeah. Although the little G, I don't know about that, but I mean,
I don't like them, because people love them because they look like you're a big shot, but they're one of the most uncomfortable cars I've ever been in.
Absolutely.
And I'm a big guy. I know I only look about 3 inches tall, but I'm a big guy, and I get in and I drive it like this,
No, it's not. It's a show-off car. It's an off-road. I've done the sort of the off-road track in Austria, where G-Class comes from. It comes from Graz, and it was absolutely. I mean, what this car can do, Jesus! You drive, you see the sky, and you climb, and this thing just doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going.
Now, here's the biggest question I'll leave you with. Other than, look at me, why would anybody buy a squared G-Class? That's the one with the 6-inch or 8-inch lift. Why? You're not going to take your $500,000 or 400,000, 300,000 euro thing of off-roading. Why?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a great car, but I would never buy a G-Class for myself. In fact, I love discreet cars. I love Alpinas.
Oh God, what a car! I got into one in when I was over there, and I'm a big guy again. It's not a big car. I fit perfectly. I got it in and out, and I got a bad knee, and it was okay. So somebody did their job really right there.
Really well. It's just and the G-Class. Even with Jeremy, we had this discussion. I said I don't want to buy a Ferrari. I mean, even if I make shitload of money one day, I don't need a Ferrari, because if I want a Ferrari, I will call Ferrari and say, hey, can I drive a Ferrari for 1 week? And they will give it to me. They'll probably give it to me now. I mean, I like the cars which are a little bit more sort of, when I drive a Rolls Royce around, I mean, everybody's looking at me and thinking, oh God, what a nuisance. I want to be, anonymous a little bit. I mean, what I do is in the front of a camera, but when I'm driving, minding my own business, I want to be invisible.
Well, the beauty is, if you ever have anybody come visit you from somewhere and you want to impress them, you call up your local Rolls Royce person and say, can I borrow one? Have you driven a Scepter yet?
Spectra, no.
Spectra, sorry.
Spectra. Actually, I've driven it, but I haven't filmed it. But briefly, I've filmed it. But this morning in Monaco, I've seen Spectra in purple, and my goodness, it looked good. I mean, so opulent, so obnoxious, and just slightly tasteless. But there's something special about it, I suppose. And actually, to be honest with you, I think EVs they work really well for Rolls-Royce. But the people, again, it's the brand are saying Rolls-Royce, okay, we're going to go electric, that's it. And then I talked to people who are actually buying Rolls-Royces here, and they said, forget it, I will not buy an EV. It's a nuisance. It's a nuisance with charging. I have a friend who's he's a billionaire, and he says, yeah, I tried to buy that because I said you should buy an electric car maybe here from Monaco. He said, Anna, I tried. I've got this penthouse that overlooks the entire Monaco. That's worth, I think, I don't know, 30 or 40 million dollars. And they would not let me install a charging box in the garage. I mean, so he said, and I talk, the thing is, when you, I suppose, also come from sales, you talk to the people, you say, okay, what, they find it very strange when I ask press managers, I said, how is that model selling? What's the increase over the last couple of years? What's happening? How's that going? What? Why are you asking me sales questions? I'm like, well,
yeah, they don't. And the trouble with manufacturers is you've got the R&D, then you've got marketing, and then you've got sales, which are two different things. People think marketing and sales is the same thing. Marketing goes, if it doesn't sell, it's a sales problem. Sales says it doesn't sell because the engineers didn't do it right. And I firmly believe people buy EVs for one reason. They're cool. They're not buying it to save the planet, because Peter can argue with you about all that mining stuff. They're not arguing it for pollution. They're not arguing because of saving money, because they're way too much money.
Yeah.
I do believe that we're in 4 or 5 years, you will have in your garage or in your underground parking or whatever it is, a pad. And it'll be just like your phone. It'll be wireless charging. You don't have to clip it in, clip it out. You'll go there, it'll pick up the charge, and almost anywhere. And then 20 years from now, you'll have electrified roads. So
that's true.
I have to hit the road, otherwise I'll be here all day. But thank you so much.
It's so much.
You made my day. I had so much fun.
Really, honestly, I didn't know how much fun it's going to be, actually.
Good. Well, I'm glad, and I enjoyed it immensely, and you're one of my favorites, so thank you.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. Take care. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
All the best. So long.
Hey, if you miss us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.